Apart from heeding the admonition of praying without ceasing, you must also have this commitment to praying in solitude. And solitude does not always have to be on the mountain, somewhere away from your house. Just staying in your closet, all by yourself, between you and God, is enough to maintain solitude. You're welcome to another episode of Logos, where our hearts are transformed by the revelation of Christ. In the previous episode, we looked at how do we pray, and the emphasis was on the fact that prayer should involve the whole of your being. It should be wholehearted. We should not just be offering casual prayers and expect to see results. Today, we will look at the discipline of prayer. Why see prayer as a discipline? Why do we need to bring the word discipline and prayer together? Now we must realize that prayer is not just about your needs. It's not just about personal desires. We see this commonly practiced nowadays where people are always bombarding God with their needs. It's all about needs. In our days, we seem to have seen prayer and asking for things as synonymous, as though there is no difference between it. I remember that in one of the previous episodes, we have said that primarily prayer is a communication. It's not just about asking God for your needs and just about you. Prayer should rather be seen as a means to communicate with God. That's one. And there is another perspective to prayer that we need to also emphasize, and is the fact that prayer is also a ministry, not given to selected few in the body of Christ, but given to every child of God. Now, so prayer is something that we do to achieve God's purpose. And I've seen that if you check history and even in scriptures, you will see that there is no one who was greatly used of God in history who was not a mighty man of prayer. And we need to take a cue from that. Like someone said, a prayerless man is a difficult instrument in the hand of God. It's difficult for God to use a man who is not giving over to prayers, because prayer aligns you. It aligns your perspective, your desires, and your heart to the will of God. So we need to get that established in our hearts that prayer is not just about my personal needs. It's actually, it positions me to be used by God. So prayer must be seen as labor. And if we see prayer as labor, then it affects the way we commit ourselves to it. It affects the way we go all out about it. Okay, so let's look at Colossians chapter 4. We will see the life of, we will see an example in Epaphras. Colossians chapter 4, verse 12. Epaphras, who is one of you, a bond servant of Christ, greets you, always laboring fervently for you in prayers, that you may stand perfect and complete in all the will of God. Epaphras' desire for the Colossians is that they will stand perfect and complete in all the will of God. But how did he do it? In our days, we use common terms like, I remembered you in my prayer. That sounds good, but from my personal perspective, that's a personal opinion though, that we tend to make it look like, well, I just mentioned you in passing when I was praying. That is not what Epaphras did here. Now, there are three words I want us to pay attention to in this verse. Now, before I even underscore those words in Colossians 4:12, I want you to realize that prayer actually requires, before prayer can produce desired result, it will require you to be consistent. In this fast-paced world where everything is fast, we seem to be losing out on that virtue of patience. And so we expect that once I pray in the morning, the results should come immediately in the afternoon. And one thing you must learn fast as someone who is ready to walk with God is that our walk with God is not a sprint, it's a marathon. and we must get that established. And one thing you must learn very fast and early in your walk with God is that in walking with God, patience is an inevitable virtue. It takes time. It takes time to see things happen. And so that means that when we say that you should discipline yourself in prayer, we are not just saying, okay, you do it today and you don't get to do it again tomorrow. Actually, in consistency lies the power. And you have not done it before, I want you to start thinking of the possibility of you praying consistently for 1 hour for 3 straight months. Now, to get that done, you will need discipline, because that will go against many of your plans. That will even might go against many of the desires of your flesh. And so if a man is going to maintain such consistency, he's going to see the result of prayer, number one. However, it's going to require that such a man go against the general flow of things in this world. Just 1 hour every day, consistently for 3 months. You will know and understand very well how effective prayer can be. However, like I said, in consistency lies the power. And Epaphras, now going back to Epaphras, look at that place again, Colossians 4:12. Epaphras, who is one of you, a bond servant of Christ, greets you, always laboring fervently for you in prayers, that you may stand perfect and complete in all the will of God. Before I underscore those 3 words, I want you to see, first of all, that the selfish factor in prayer was totally taken away from Epaphras' commitment to prayer. In this case, he wasn't praying for himself. He was praying for the Colossian Christians. And what he did was he was laboring fervently for them always. So those 3 words are laboring fervently and always. And it's important for us to underscore that, because it will give us a better perspective concerning the discipline of prayer. The fact that it is a labor tells us that it requires discipline. Because the word labor here actually literally means to strain every nerve of your body to achieve a purpose or to get a task done. And so anything that requires such commitment will require discipline if you are going to carry it and do it as you're supposed to do it. And the Bible says that Epaphras is laboring. Now, so literally, Epaphras is straining every nerve of his body. He's flexing all the muscles of the body to get this done. That's the literal sense. And that's labor. That's the sense of labor. And so, it's good enough and it's even challenging enough to know that there is a dimension to prayer where you are actually literally laboring. And that will have still been a great lesson for us if that is all that is said about Epaphras. But that is not all. It was not only laboring. The Bible says is laboring fervently. And so even if all that is said about him is praying fervently, that is still a great lesson. But now the combination of those 2 words is laboring fervently for the Colossians in prayers. And so that is a dimension of labor in prayer. It's not just about now I'm just asking God for things. I'm just asking God for personal desires. And I just want my desires to be met. And all I do all year round, all day long, is just to have my needs met. And so the prayer has become a means of getting my needs met. That is not all there is to prayer. And that is not a good attitude towards God or prayer. Imagine if you have a friend who every time he comes to you is always asking for something and doesn't even care about you. He doesn't even care about what's going on in your life. Now, so I'm saying to you that God has something he wants to achieve on earth. And he's not going to use just believers. He needs praying believers to get his purpose achieved. And so a prayerless Christian actually is a difficult instrument in the hand of God. And a man has rightly put it, and I absolutely agree with that the greatest hindrance to the work of God on earth is not the devil. Because primarily and positionally, devil is a conquered foe. And so a man that the major hindrance, rather, to the work of God on earth today is not the devil. Jesus conquered the devil. The major hindrance to the work of God is the prayerless believer, because that is the man whom God has chosen to use. That is the man whom God has chosen to use. But it is difficult for God to use a man who is prayerless. Because what prayer does, when you commit to prayer like Epaphras did, what it does for you is that it brings you to an alignment with the will of God. And so you are on the same frequency with God, and it's easier for information to flow better. And it can use you. So you become, it's difficult for you to be malleable, to be bendable, or to be usable by God when you are prayerless. Because one of the major advantage of prayer is that before your prayer can even affect people you are praying for, I believe that it affects you first because it makes your will align with the will of God. It puts you in a great conscious and powerful alignment with God. And this is exactly what Epaphras is doing here. His Bible says that he's laboring fervently. And another word to underscore here is that he's doing it always. He didn't just do it today and he doesn't do it again. Or he didn't just do it today and for a couple of days to come he didn't do it. It was noticeable enough for Paul to have said that he is doing it always. And so the prayer that will produce results, like I talked about patience earlier when I started. Now, the prayer that will produce results is a prayer that is done with that mindset of laboring. Not only that, with that commitment of labor, and is done consistently. It takes time to see some of these results, to get things done in people's lives. And so God wants to use you. He wants to achieve his purpose through you. We are the people God is using today, the believers. But it's almost like his hands are tied when we do not give ourselves to prayer like we should. And that's the example we see here. And you will see that in the life of Paul a lot. At the beginning of his letters, he will write things like, I always remember you in my prayers. That is very important. We must pay attention to that and learn from it. And so prayer requires discipline. Discipline is something you do when you don't want to do it or when you don't feel like doing it. That is what discipline is. And the demand of prayer will require that you do many things your flesh does not want to do. It will require at times that you wake up at night to pray when you really feel like sleeping. Imagine going to work for 12 straight hours. You left 7 a.m., you're coming back 8 p.m. And all you want to do at that time, haven't tasked your brain all day with the physical stress that you went through. All you want to do at the end of the day is just to lie down and sleep. We even go to work at times and we come back from work. We don't even eat. We just eat the bed and sleep all night. Now, that's wonderful. It's good to rest. However, there will be times when the demand of prayer will require that you actually deny yourself of that rest or comfort so that you can give yourself to prayer. And at such times, discipline is necessary. And so it's not going to be easy. It's not something you're just going to like doing. And that is why we say that in the true sense of commitment to prayer, prayer cannot be your hobby. Hobby is what you do as a leisure, at your leisure time. You enjoy doing it. It gives you pleasure. There will be times when the commitment of prayer will take a toll on your flesh. There will be times when the commitment of prayer will go against your personal plan. Because what happens to a man who is seeing prayer as a ministry and is committed to prayer is that there will be from time to time when the hand of the Lord will come upon you and it will push you to a place of prayer contrary to your laid down plans. And so when a man is given over to prayers, these are the things that happen to him. God begins to use that man, begin to pass on burdens into his heart. Burdens, like we see in Epaphras, burdens for nations, burdens for the souls of men, burdens for the spread of the gospel will begin to spread and take over your heart. So all of these things require discipline. Let's look at an example in Jesus, Matthew chapter 14. Matthew 14, verse 23. And when he had sent the multitudes away, he went up on the mountain by himself to pray. Now when evening came, he was alone there. Now, the first question you might want to ask in this verse, look at the first part of Matthew 14:23. And when he has sent the multitudes away, I think the first question we should ask is, who are these multitudes? Or which multitude is this? Now, this is the multitude that he fed, the 5,000 people he fed from Matthew 14 to 21. Matthew 14, 13 to 21. This same chapter from verses 13 to 21. He had fed them. And that's a time to just relax and feel good that I see miraculous manifestation in my ministry today. And it's just, I haven't preached all day. I fed these people. Imagine what logistics and protocol will be involved in feeding 5,000 people in their days. And Jesus preached, he ministered to them. And it's a time to just finish all that and have this sense of accomplishment and success. And not only that, and just go back home and sleep. But what did Jesus do? Instead of going back to sleep, no, he didn't do that. Bible says he literally sent the multitudes away. And so part of the discipline of prayer will require that you place priority over on prayer over your personal desires. One. Number two, it will require that you place priority. Because those are the times that people who have seen the miraculous manifestation of the power of God, these are times when they will really want to flock around Jesus, share their testimonies, and talk to him about what they experienced. But what did he do? He didn't even wait for all of that. He sent them away. And so, apart from prioritizing prayer over your personal desires, the discipline of prayer also requires that you prioritize prayer over your personal comfort. Not only that, it also requires that you prioritize prayer over socializing with people. It's good to have family and friends flock around you. Human beings are created in communities, and we should have that strong sense of community. But it should not be an everyday thing. It should not be something we do every day, all day, every day. No. Jesus showed us an example. After he has ministered to these people, he actually sent them away, including the disciples. The Bible says, and he went to a mountain apart to pray. And so the discipline of prayer will also require solitude many times every day. So I encourage you to see prayer as something that should be practiced every day, all day. Not only that, solitary prayer must be done every day also. Apart from heeding the admonition of praying without ceasing, you must also have this commitment to praying in solitude. And solitude does not always have to be on the mountain, somewhere away from your house. Just staying in your closet, all by yourself, between you and God, is enough to maintain solitude. Anywhere you cannot be distracted, you will not be distracted or be called out, is a place of solitude. And it requires discipline to maintain this kind of lifestyle. And so your flesh will not always want it. And that is why discipline is required. And you remember that Bible talks of Jesus in Luke 6:12, that it came to pass in those days that he went to a mountain apart to pray, and he continued in prayer all night. Can you imagine that? In the darkness of the night, all night. So that's a minimum of 6 straight hours praying all by himself. One of the questions we answer in our future discussion is, what made Jesus get so committed to prayer? Why did he see prayer as such a necessity that he is totally giving over to it? We're going to be answering that in our subsequent discussion. But it suffices to say today that the prayer that makes things happen require discipline. And the discipline is mostly required in the place of consistency. I've seen people pray for consistency before. People complain that, Lord, I need help. I'm not consistent. I need to be consistent. The way to be consistent is just to be consistent. There is no shortcut to it. Now, it will mean that there will be times when you will rise and fall. And so it's like the experience of a little child who is trying to learn how to walk. Now, a child does not stop making attempts simply because he tried a couple of times and he falls every time he tries. No. And so the same way, consistency don't even happen just by trying few times. It is by rising up every time you fall. And as you continue, you get to master your own desires. You get to master your own aspirations in life. And with that, you are able to manage it better and put yourself under, keep yourself under, and you are able to give yourself over to the discipline of prayers. I want to say to you, friends, you are not a believer just to serve your own personal purpose. The reason God saved you is to serve his purpose. And the reason he left us here on earth is to serve his purpose. And the way we can do that, one of the ways we can be usable in the hands of God is to make sure that we give ourselves to prayer and be disciplined at it. So we maintain discipline to maintain consistency in laborious prayer. And as we do that consistently, we begin to see the impact in the world. Amen.